stuff we've done. So to start off, our mission. Des Moines County Conservation is dedicated to the sustainability of natural resources through land stewardship, conservation education, and by providing quality outdoor recreation opportunities. Now there's 3 distinct divisions in there by which we deliver on this mission. And so really, you're going to hear tonight 3 different ways that we approach natural resource sustainability. And they're very distinct, but yet they're very much tied together. And I hope to make that clear tonight. So when I say irons in the campfire, basically what I'm delivering here tonight is the ooey gooey goodness of all the wonderful things that we've done here at Des Moines County Conservation last year. So get out your graham crackers and your chocolate and prepare to have some fun here. All right, land stewardship. You may think that land stewardship is prairies, and trees, and flowers, and wildlife, and that type of stuff. But for us, it's much, much more than that. Land stewardship to us is more than just the actual land and the water that falls on it, the wildlife that live on it. It's also the people that inhabit it. So in the last year, this last fiscal year, we worked with 115 landowners. So we provided conservation assistance to 115 landowners throughout this county, helping them install conservation practices on their property. We delivered conservation on over 600 acres of public and private land throughout this county. Now, that's all well and good, but let me kind of put this in perspective a little bit. So take any highly roadable field here in Des Moines County, anything that's got any amount of slope to it or that is highly roadable, which is the majority of farm fields out there. Research has shown, scientific research has shown that putting a mere 10% of the surface area of that field into conservation practices or into perennial vegetation such as native prairie grasses that used to dominate the landscape here can reduce soil erosion by up to 90%. So let me reiterate that. 10% of input can reduce 90% of soil loss. On top of that, that 10%, that mere 10% of that field buffer or that waterway can also reduce nitrogen and phosphorus runoff, the 2 biggest pollutants in our streams and in our lakes and rivers, by 70%. Now, the media would like us to believe that conservation is at odds with agriculture, that it's us versus them, it's the conservation versus the agricultural producers, and it isn't. And that annoys the heck out of me that that's even portrayed that way, that you have to give up farm production, that you have to give up your land in order to conserve the waters and the wildlife that inhabit it. It's not actually that way. In our experience, in the 115 landowners we worked with this last year, and the thousands we've worked with over the previous years combined, that dynamic is not true. Working together, we can accomplish some pretty amazing things. Let me give you some perspective and some examples. So this is a picture from Hickory Bend Conservation Area, one of our conservation areas, one of our favorite hunting grounds. This last year, we took an innovative approach to agriculture there, and we teamed up with a neighboring landowner and his grazing operation. Basically, what we did is we had him expand his grazing operation onto our conservation area. Now, it may seem to fly in the face of everything we know about conservation by turning cows loose on the conservation area, but this was actually innovative, and it was a win-win situation for both of us. What we did is we took this 12 acres on Hickory Bend, and we divided it up into packs, the smaller acreages that were divided by temporary fencing, usually 1 to 3 acres in size. And we did this thing called mob grazing, okay? And that's where a bunch of cows come out and they break into a flash dance. Maybe it's put on YouTube and everybody falls in love with it. No, we couldn't get the cows to dance. Try as we may. No, what we do is we bring the cows in and they graze it intensively for 24 to 48 hours. But it isn't the intensive grazing that you see in a normal pasture setting where they graze it down to nothing. They just come in for 48 hours and they graze. This was dominated by cool season grasses and a bunch of brush, cedar trees and things like that. We bring the cows in, they graze it down, and then they're moved on to the next one. And then that particular paddock sits and rests for 30 to 60 days after. And what we have found is pretty profound results from this. By bringing that cattle in and having them graze it down, they're reducing the prevalence of these cool season grasses. They're turning up the soil, the hoof prints and everything are turning up the soil. They're introducing some nutrients into the soil, some fertilizer, of course. And what we've seen is some amazing response from the native vegetation, the native plants that are sitting there in the soil bank, just waiting to be released. So we've got some really great before and after pictures, and I didn't put them up because it takes a little bit of explaining, but some really great before and after pictures where it goes from cool season grasses to just some amazing prairie-type plants that we didn't expect to see out there. And in this year that we've done this, we're already seeing wildlife response. We've got bobwhite quail using this area. And you know, if you're an outdoorsman, you know that bobwhite quail are pretty hard to come by. And we've got them on this spot. And it's not just the benefit to us and the habitat that it benefits and the conservation measures, it's benefiting the landowner too. He gets to expand his grazing operation. He gets to introduce fresh browse to his cows every 24 to 48 hours. His cows are growing faster. His overall grazing operation is improved. It's a win-win. We've also worked with a number of landowners throughout this past year, years before that, to implement really neat and innovative strategies in using field buffers as a way to increase farm efficiency. So if you think about it, if you've got a field that's got irregular field edges, it's not just a perfectly square, rectangular shaped field, you've got irregular field edges, that planting equipment, that spraying equipment that you have going in and out of those coves and those fields is very inefficient. You're going over the same ground a couple of times over. And so what we have worked with landowners to do is use conservation practices such as field buffers to square those field edges up. They can enroll those edges of those fields, which are usually the lowest producing, the lowest yielding acres anyway, into these conservation practices, pull a rental rate off of them, square the field up, and if you lay the field out properly, say you've got a 40-foot planter, or a 20-foot planter and a 40-foot sprayer, you lay your field out in increments of 40, you're only covering the same acreage once. It's efficient. And we have worked with landowners that have said, my operator, some guys that were cash rented out, have said their operator was wanting to reduce the rental rate, or they were wanting to walk away altogether because the farms were hard to plant. We implemented these conservation practices, and the operator come back and says, this has never been more efficient. My overall operation is getting more profitable, and it's a win-win for everybody. The land is conserved, so the runoff and everything is being conserved before it gets off into those streams, like Dr. Pease talked about, and the landowner gets the benefit of higher producing acreage. So when I say that land stewardship is one method in which we deliver on the mission, what I mean is that, yeah, we're doing good things on the landscape, but we're also doing good by the people that make their very living from that landscape. And really, that's what it comes down to. That's the only way we're ever going to get anywhere with conservation in this world, is if we work together.